Good afternoon and welcome to On the Spot Motorsports Media. And tonight we have a special guest. We have Charlie Westcott joining us, Hemi Shootout Challenger racer. I tell you what, this is going to be a great show, Robert. We always like to pay attention when we go to Indy of the Hemi Shootout Challenge. It's always a wonderful part of the race. And, not only do they do these Hemi Shootouts in Indy, but they just done one just last week down there in New Orleans. But before we get into that, we have a few commercials, so we'll be right back after these messages.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit, we'll protect it.
Ready to take your engine to the next level? Scorpion Racing Products delivers precision-engineered, high-performance rocker arms that dominate the track. 100% CNC machined in the USA with aerospace-grade aluminum for unmatched strength and durability. Our rocker arms handle extreme conditions with multiple ratios available to fit your needs. Backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. When performance matters, choose Scorpion Racing Products. Proven, reliable, unstoppable.
With more than 30 years of engine and drivetrain experience, Big Stuff is your one-stop total power management solution. Whether you're controlling a 600 horsepower street car and want the best drivability, or have a 6,000 horsepower race car, need the most bulletproof, reliable control hardware, Big Stuff can do it all. All of our components are designed and manufactured right here in the USA, including our computers, wiring harnesses, touchscreen displays, and more. Nothing is built offshore, and we take pride in being one of the only automotive aftermarket manufacturers that can say this. Learn more at bigstuff3efi.com or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram for more information.
Mr. Westcott, I want to thank you for joining us this afternoon to talk a little bit about the Hemi Challenge. I tell you, every year up at Indy, it is a big draw for a lot of fans. You don't see them leaving the stadium and the stands. They want to stick around and see what happens. And I tell you, it doesn't matter if you're racing in Indy or you were down in Belarus just last week competing down there, but it is a big draw for a lot of people, especially the Hemi guys like myself.
Yeah, it's a big deal. It may be bigger than I give it credit for sometimes. I kind of make jokes when people, I'm the Arvid or something, he'll say something about the Hemi class or the this or that. And I say, yeah, like all 10 of the fans, it's not, I don't ever think it's quite as big as the guys racing the class want to think it is, but it's pretty big, as a spectator. It's a spectator draw. I don't really know anybody that doesn't enjoy watching it because it's heads up racing. The cars are all the same. They do some crazy things now and then, do wheelies and spin tires and blow up and all kinds of stuff. So it's a good crowd draw for the class.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
The last one you don't want to happen to anybody, though. The breaking the stuff. I know it happens, but nobody wants that. Just part
Right.
of it, though.
Obviously, nobody wants it, but you get it anyway sometimes. So
Yeah,
there it
that's true.
goes.
That's true. But we wanted to say thank you very much for coming on tonight, Charlie. We know you're extremely busy, and we appreciate you coming on. And like Mitchell was starting to say, I mean, you had an exciting time down at Belarus. I mean, you ran good.
Yeah, we did good. That car that I'm driving belongs to Henry Simone, who is a great guy that we could spend a fair amount of time talking about. This is life history and all the things he's done in his life. But He came to me. I actually met him in 2005 at Indy. He just walked up and, started talking to me, and he wanted to buy some parts off me. He said he was building a car, and I don't remember much about that. I do remember selling him some parts. He had somebody else do the engine, and then he got ill. He had cancer, and then he sold everything. And then after he got over his cancer problems, he bought the car back from Barnett's. That's why it's got the lovely paint job on it that it has, because Barnett's had it. And then he asked me about building an engine, and I didn't want to. And he bought a used engine from Barnett's, and then he talked me into working on that a little bit. So I worked on it. We ended up selling it, and I built him a new engine, which I built the new engine. Then we ended up selling it to Jim Pancake because he wanted an engine and Henry wasn't ready yet. So I sold the original engine I built for Henry to Pancake, and then I built another one for Henry. And then it's been a calamity of problems with that car since the time I laid eyes on it. We had to have a bunch of work done to the front end because the front suspension was a complete train wreck, and Holtz put a new nose on it and fixed all the front steering on it. And then, that was 2 years ago, I think now, because we were going to go to Indy with that car in 24, and it didn't work out. And I drove Anthony's car at Indy that year. And then this year we got back on it again, and I tested it quite a bit before Indy. And, it runs good now and then. It's got potential. The engine's really good. It's just having consistency issues with the car. I can't make it do what I want to do, and I'm really getting frustrated with it to the point where some things are going to change.
Gotcha. Now, just real quick, let some of our viewers know. So, what is the cubic inch these cars have in them, and what is about the horsepower range that you can see?
Well, they call it the 426, but as per the rules, it's a 426. They allow you to be oversized on the bore, so it ends up being like 438-ish. The engines have the stock carburetors on them, stock compression ratio, stock valve sizes. The heads are modified, but within rules. They make about 1,000, plus or minus. That's what mine make anyways. I don't know what everybody else has got going on, but dynos are all different, but that's what they show when I run them on my dyno.
Yeah, and they show good because, the leaders are running 160 miles an hour and up. I think he ran 162 a couple times, at least in the last qualifying. I think he went 162 and some change.
I did. I had pretty much top speed of every round with that car, which was made me happy because I never made a clean run the whole time I was there. The very first run I made was the best run as far as the best 60 foot. And then from then on, it was just a calamity of garbageness. Just nothing worked right. Spinning the tires, or, I tried a different clutch. I tried this and that. I mean, I should say Henry worked really hard on the car too. He's an animal. I mean, I went inside the motorhome and laid down and took a break, and I says, I'll come back out and we'll work on it a little bit. And I came back out there. He had the car jacked up, drive shafts off, and ready to pull the trans out because I was going to put a different clutch in it. And, he never stops. I have to tell him to put the brakes on every once in a while. So he comes up here and stays with me quite a bit. He's been up here and stayed with us probably 2 weeks before we went down there. He was up here, and then back before Indy, he was up here for several weeks. I mean, he just comes up here, and I got a big place here with extra room, so he can stay here with me.
Well, let everybody know. We know you're very smart, and we know you're a really good racer in this class because I think you've won, six of the Hemi Shootout challenges?
Right.
Well, I've won Indy. I don't really know. I'd have to count. All I know is I won it quite a few times. My dad won it once. I think my dad won it in either 08 or 09. I can't remember. That's really my favorite win, really.
Yes, because the final round, or getting to the final round, was that was the drama of the entire event, was it not?
Yeah, we that'll be something that'll never be done again, because we switched the engine in that car. I think we did it in 45 minutes. My dad had a buy run in the semis, and he broke a valve. We were having valve problems at that time. It wasn't the valve's fault. It was the valve train issues that we ended up working out later on. But anyways, broke a valve. And we typically, when we leave, we're out of there like in no time, just because I don't hang around. I get beat, I'm going home. But I went down to the tech to ask Danny if we were going to have to tear down, because we were in the final with a broke motor. And I says, "Are you going to tear us down?" And I don't remember what he said, but when I was down there, some pro mod blew up on the track, and I was thinking, they're running pro mods now. And back at that time, pro mods were pretty good for blowing up all the time and crashing and everything else. They got it kind of tuned up now, but back then it was something else. So I thought to myself, I bet we could change the engine in this car. But I don't have an engine. So my customer, John Rains, who just recently passed away, he had his spare engine with him. So I went and got his spare engine. I sent some people down there. They loaded it up on the back of a golf cart. We pulled my dad's car over into Jim DeFrank's trailer area, because we didn't have nothing to change an engine with. We just started working on it, and we changed it. And I think it was 45 minutes we had it running. Never put a timing light on it, never did nothing. I set the clutch up, and my dad went up there and had a good light, and Barton was having trouble. So we ended up winning that. But that's my favorite win ever, because it was my dad, and B, it was just a group effort by probably 10 people that all chipped in to help us get it done. And, that'll be good memory forever.
Yeah, overcoming adversity for sure there. It's not easy to switch out a motor, especially within 45 minutes. That's pretty quick.
No, I mean, the cars that we had, Gary Jennings built every car I've ever had. And he's good about making stuff easy to work on. I mean, most of these cars, you can't even get one side of the headers off of them in 45 minutes. And we did the whole thing in 45 minutes because, the car is easy to work on. So anyways, everything just went together well for us. And, hopefully we don't have to do that again.
Yeah, but you see, Mitchell, Charlie forgot to mention that his dad laid down a 002 light in the final too. So, I mean, he pretty much took the bulbs out and handed it to anybody on the starting line on top of it. So.
Yeah, he had something. Yeah, I remember him telling me at the end of it, after it was all over with, he was just saying he just hoped he didn't red light, because if he'd have red lighted after all them people helped him, he would have felt pretty dumb. But he didn't. He did a good job, and it all worked out for us.
Yes, it did. And so I think total of the shootouts, I think 13 winners have had your engine in it, whether it be you, your father, or Stephen Yentis, or Hoosier, or Camella, or you know what I mean. So I think it's like 13, and that's a very impressive number. To say the least. It goes to show your hard work has proven itself. But I'm curious, Charlie, how did you get your start? I mean, in racing, period. Because I know your father raced, but how did you get your start at all? Or when, I should say.
Well, I would say my start really officially happened probably in 93. So my dad stopped racing when I was born. He never traveled around much. There was tracks around here. He used to race at the local Onondaga, Milan, 131. There's, a few tracks here in Michigan he used to race at. But when I was born, he stopped because, he didn't have the money back then. And so he quit. But he's always liked racing. And I grew up looking at pictures and trophies and hearing about his racing. And I just was interested in it. And we used to go on vacation as a family every year to Florida, and we'd go to the Gator Nationals. So the Gator Nationals is pretty much my exposure to drag racing. And we would also go to Columbus. I think we went to Indy a few times, but Gainesville was always the thing. And I had a 69 Camaro when I was in high school that was for sale down the road from where we lived at. My dad bought it for me for $2,800, and I built an engine for it. And I made intentions on having a street car to drive, but it kind of turned into be a little bit more of a car that something you would drive on the street. It's like 11-second, 4-speed, small block, 69 Camaro. So then, after that, at Gainesville one year, Mike Thomas had a super stock Beretta for sale.
Yep.
And that's what I bought. So I bought that. And then my dad bought a red truck that we put a box on the back of it. It was like one of the old Olenek style, but it wasn't an Olenek, but it was like that. And that's what we traveled around with for a while. And then my dad got back into, he wanted to have a car. So then we got another Beretta. And then we had 2 Berettas, had a trailer in back of the red truck. So we ran super stock. We used to travel down to Florida all the time. About twice a year we'd go down there. And we used to like to set national records just because it was kind of an accomplishment. And it was fun to go down there in the wintertime when it was cold, up here, and go down there and get some good weather and run fast. So we used to do that. Then I built the comp car like in 98 maybe. I had Jennings build me a brand new Grand Am that I bought from a salvage yard. So that was actually the first brand new car I ever built. And I ran that for a while. And then amongst this, I was building engines for people. That's how I paid for my racing, was by working on other people's engines. Started out just like doing clutch grinds and just stuff like that. And then I'd meet people at the races and they'd have me work on their engines. So at some point I met Richard Bayshore, and that was like in 2000, I think. And he was local, and he was a friend of Mike Postelny, who was a good friend of mine. So Mike and Richard come down to my place one night, and we just talked about working on his engines. And that's how it all started with the Hemi stuff, is he had a couple Barton engines, and he wanted to dyno them and see which one was actually better. And we dynoed it and just started fluffing on it. And then really the whole thing that kind of started the whole war between me and Barton's was when we needed some parts. And I'm not saying they wouldn't sell us the parts we needed, but they didn't make it easy. And a comment was made that, we're not helping out a Chevy guy. Chevy guy is never going to make a Hemi run. And that's kind of the, start of the whole battle. Mm-hmm. So we worked on his engine for a while, and then while we were working on his engines, we started building a new one, and the new one ended up running pretty good. And then I decided to build my own car. So like in 03 is when I built my own car, and then kind of the rest is history.
Yeah, I think if I remember correctly, on your car, you had a bow tie, I think either on the dash or on the top of the car. And I think somebody got a little upset. It's like, where's the sense of humor? You can't have a sense of humor here, right?
I mean, you got to have a sense of humor. And what's so, I come from the days of reading magazine articles, and people would talk smack and whatever. And now it's like these guys get interviewed at the end of the track, and they never want to say nothing this off color because they're going to make their sponsors mad. And that's lame. Have some personality and say some things and try to get something started, get some interest in the sport. It's just boring if we all sit around and hug. I mean, I want to win. I want to make you look dumb. Like, my day is better when your day is bad at the racetrack. I mean, that's just what it's all about. I don't want to make you happy. I want to make you sad. I want to win. And that's why I'm just really struggling with this car I've been racing. It's just, I'm tired of going to races and getting beat second round, because that's what happens every time. I end up, and I'm getting beat by my customers, so I can't really complain. I was really happy down there that all 4 of my customers were there. We all ran within a few hundredths of each other. Everybody was doing good. That's a good thing. What's frustrating for me is I don't mind losing when I gave it my best shot, but when I go up there and the car tries to do a big stupid wheelie or makes a bad run, I don't like that. If I get beat on a good run, I'll take that. But when I don't give it my best shot because of the whatever, that's really what's discouraging for me.
No, that makes sense. But I mean, okay, it was a beautiful picture, and that wasn't the point of it. And y'all were dead even on the tree. But you're right. I could see what you were describing with your car. It's like one time I'm going to make a clean run and leave, 18, 24 inches in the air, good and clean. The next time it's going for the sky. And the front end's still tied down, so I'm like going, that's okay. I mean, I don't know what changes you're making in between runs to try different things, but I could see what you're talking about. It's just not repeating yet.
That car is like if you try to give it any juice. I mean, if you slip the clutch, it'll go down. Or if it spins the tires, it'll go down. But it's like if you try to lean on it a little bit and get after it, and it hooks up any way at all, it just flips over. And I've done all I know how to do with it right now, so we're gonna make some changes on it, I think. I'm not really sure how long this is gonna take. I made some calls today, and but I got a life too. I mean, I got parts to make. I got a backlog of stuff I'm trying to get through. So the car is gonna get fixed. I'm just not really sure when this year. I mean, Henry, the ultimate goal is Henry's going to drive that car. I mean, I don't want to drive that car forever. I want to get it safe, fast, and repeatable so he can drive it. He's never driven a car like that. I'm not just going to send him down the track on something that's going to flip over and run into the wall. It's not safe at this point. So I got to get it figured out a little bit better, and then he can drive it, and then I'll drive my own car. I mean, I'm tired of driving everybody else's cars. At this point, I want to get back into my own car. I haven't really had time to work on my own car because of business and other things I've been going through the last couple of years. So at this point, I got my new shop done, shop's done, house is done, equipment's all in, everything's running smooth. It's nice to be right here. I live here. I mean, my shop and my house is all the same thing, so I can work on stuff whenever I want to, so I can focus on getting my car ready again, and that's what my plan is.
Now, is that the one that you call Warfish?
Yes.
Yeah, we have two of them. I mean, I have the green one that's mine, and then the tan one's the one my dad drove, and they're both here. I will run, the green one that I always ran.
Right. Well, I was going to ask you who you're thinking about going to since Gary retired, but you don't have to answer that because I've always liked Gary Jennings' cars. I've followed him. I even went and visited him at his house years ago at his shop before he built your car. When he built Robert Brown's car and he built other people's cars, and I've always admired his work, and all his stuff always worked. And so when you came out with one of his cars at the time of the Hemi cars and even the comp cars, there was not many, if any. Actually, none of them were built by Jennings. They were other people's chassis.
There's other people that did them. I mean, the simple facts are the fastest cars that are out there are built either by Gary Jennings or Gary Hansen.
Yes.
Phil Mandela did Bucky's car, so that's kind of the only one I can. And Anthony's. Phil built both Anthony's car and Bucky's. Anthony's other car is a Jennings car.
Right.
My cars are Jennings cars. The car Jason's driving is a Jennings car. Camilla's car was built by Gary Hansen. That's a great car, obviously. So like, those are the go-to guys for one of these cars in my mind. And there's nobody that's active right now that I would have build me a car. So as long as I got mine, I'm going to just keep running that. And when I'm done with that, I'm done. I'm not having anybody else build anything.
So just give a picture of a little bit of how much of a budget someone would have to have if they were interested in racing in the Hemi Shootout?
Well, it depends on how.
Not a trick question.
250 grand?
No, I'm going to answer your question. It's not a simple question. The answer to the question is it depends on how stupid you are. Like if you take care of your parts and don't do dumb things, the engines last really well. Like Camella's engine, for instance, he just sent it back this winter. I took it apart. The thing had like, I don't know, 50, 60 runs on it. I haven't had it for 2 years. This will be 2 years right now was the last time I had it. So I took it apart. Everything looked great. I put it back together. I didn't hone it. I didn't do a valve job. I put new springs on it, same rings, new bearings. Actually, the rod bearings he had already put in it before he sent it because he was ready to go to Belrose. So I gave it back to him with the same bearings that was in it. And they hold up good. He's really good at keeping track of things. You know, he checks his own bearings. He understands his car. Or you have people that do dumb things and blow up engines all the time. You know, so it's just the thing of it is this class is hard. You know, we were getting ready to go down there and you know, I dynoed the engine and. You know, some people think just because you got a good engine, you're just going to go down there and walk through the field, and it's not. I mean, it's hard to win one of these races. You got to have everything go your way. You got to have a consistent vehicle to drive, and you got to drive good. And I feel like I drive good. I felt good about my driving, getting back in the car. I've driven 3 cars now, right? This one. Maybe 2. This one and Anthony's. I guess that's all I've driven is this one and Anthony's cars. I've been very happy with my reaction times and getting the car down the track and all that stuff. I'm happy with myself. I just got to get a good horse, you know, and then I'll be better off. But it's like, back to your question, engine. If I sell somebody an engine, you're talking 90 grand for an engine. And then that's funny. I talked to a guy yesterday. He told me that he bought a shootout engine from somebody that sells a lot of those, and they charged him, it was either 80 grand, I think, for the engine, something like that, 80 for the engine, and then they charge him 70 more for R&D or something. I'm like, I don't know how you get away with that. I sell somebody an engine, that's it. Like, I don't charge extra for R&D. When I dyno your engine, when you send it back in the wintertime, you pay me to freshen the engine and dyno, but like, I'm not that way. I'm not sitting here trying to rape these guys and make all this extra money. I just want to sell a product. I want you to run well with the product. I'm going to do whatever I have to do to make sure you do. I'll go to the races. I'll do whatever. I'll help you out. But I'm not, my deal, I race and do the Hemi thing because I love it. Mm-hmm. It's not really where I make my money. I make my money making parts, camshafts and stuff. So like, the engine's that much. You can get a car from whoever you're going to get a car from. I don't even know what they get for cars anymore. But I mean, I'm pretty sure you could drop 200 grand on a running car pretty easy. And then, you know, then it's kind of up to you to not do dumb stuff, like I said, and race the car. The actual maintenance of the car is really not that big a deal. I mean, like one of mine would put springs on them every, say 20, 30 runs, change the oil, check the bearings or whatever. I mean, it's not really that big of a deal, but there's people out there that just should not be racing, period. And they just continue to wreck things. And it's just, you know, it's really frustrating and not fun.
Do you think sometimes they just jump in a little over their head and hadn't worked themselves up to race something of that caliber?
Well, I think what it is like, let's say a guy calls me and I build them an engine and they get an engine from me and they got their mind made up. I can't believe I got this good engine. I'm going to go to this race and I'm going to kick ass, you know, and then they just get there and just like blow the motor up on the first run. It's happened before, not just recently. It's happened to me in the past. Like, and And anymore, I'm very selective on who I even work for. Like I said, I don't even want to do this. I don't want to build engines, but I have this group of people that I work for, and I like them all. They're all great people. I got Junior and Anthony and Kamala and Pancake. They're all great people that I consider friends. They're not my customers. They're my friends. It's like Henry. I mean, any of these people, I would do anything for them, and they would do anything for me. And that's the group that we have. I had a guy call me just the other day, and they wanted to buy an engine. I says, I'm not building you an engine. I don't want to. You need to. I said, you need to not build one of these cars because you don't know what you're getting into. You need to do something else. And that's pretty much what I tell everybody when they call, but some people don't listen.
Persistent, consistent. But like you said, those names that you mentioned, they've been around the sport quite a bit. And it also the fact that if you look at all the Hemi cars that have attended, whether it be Indy or Belarus or I was going to say the IHR event last year, if you see all the different cars that attended, the competition's really, really good. I mean, between both of Anthony's cars, your cars, Steve Jr., both of Bucky's cars, just to name a few, the competition is really tight and really close. And that's a good thing. And I mean, it's taken a long time, I think, for that number of cars to get that close. Of course, Daniels, excuse me, I don't mean to.
Yeah, Daniels, I don't know. I forget about him once in a while too, and it's not because I'm disrespecting their team. I don't know. I just forget about him once in a while. It seems like I don't see them that much. They go to Indy, and then that's kind of seems like it. At one time they went to more, but anymore they just don't. They don't go for whatever reason. I think the kid's got a couple businesses he's trying to take care of, and good for him. I know how that works. Yeah. And his dad's got the job, so the dentist. So like, it's just not easy to get away. And then what is kind of nice about the IHRA races, I'm kind of looking forward to those is basically, Friday's the first day. So if you get there Thursday, you can race Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think they run them on Sunday. But some of these events, like Indy, I mean, hell, you got to get there on Tuesday. It's a whole week of being gone from stuff, and people got to work.
Oh yes. Now you have a unique, I say a unique thing. Back when you were doing Jackson Engine Tech, and then when you progressed on with the Hemis and stuff like that, you surprised me, and I'm sure others, when you come out and you're producing your own camshaft, literally grinding your own camshaft. How did that come about? Is that something you always wanted to do? As you always wanted to progress and get deeper into making parts, or is it just something that came out as a necessity?
Well, the whole thing with if you're going to build engines, the only way you're going to make money building engines is if you make the parts, because this is how that works. I mean, I know people that have had engines done by people, and they get a bill when they're all done, and it's like the engine is, the block was $3,000, honing the block was $500, wash the block was this, so it's like going and getting your car worked on, and they have to itemize everything. And then you get to their labor, and it's like, oh my God, you charged me whatever to build this engine. So you have all these parts that you make nothing on because there's no markup on hardly any of the parts. Everybody can buy stuff on Amazon or Jegs or Summit or whatever. And they come and they say, well, you charged me $3 more for this set of push rods, and I could have got it at wherever. So like when I build you an engine, it's like I said, $90,000. That's what the engine costs. So all those parts that are in that engine, I'm going to make myself, and then I can make the money on the parts. That's the only way you can make money doing this. If you got a guy that's just building engines and just trying to make it on the labor, you can't do it. The camshaft thing came about through Dan Jessel, who I was really close with, and I got to know him. The progression of my career is Bayshore got me into the Hemis. That got me into Jessel, and I met Dan Jessel and got to be really close with him. And then as time went on, he asked me about making camshaft cores for them. And that's why I started doing them, So I bought a lathe, and I ended up buying a grinder soon after. And then I bought that grinder, and it was cheap enough that it was kind of like I bought it. If it was only for my own use, it was okay, because
okay.
I spent $20,000 in 1 year on regrinds at Cam Motion. And I remember doing my taxes, and I came down to because I itemize all my stuff, and I remember seeing that Cam Motion $20,000 on regrinds. I'm thinking, that's a lot. And then that grinder came available, and I bought the grinder, and then it didn't work when I got it. I had to get it going and all that stuff. But it turned into a very successful, lucrative business for me, and I really enjoy making camshafts. I like doing other stuff, but I got a very good system and routine on the camshaft thing, and that's what I mainly do.
Okay.
Grant Guthrie had a question. I don't know if you want to say what the RPMs y'all are turning or not, but if you want to kind of give him an idea. I don't know if you know who Grant Guthrie is, but there for a while he had one of the fastest pickups in no time truck class that participated in Ducks races, Ducks X Productions, and he also what's that?
I said down here in Georgia at Lights Out events and
Lights Out events.
Some of that stuff.
So he's got a truck that's set up with twin turbos. It's a bad beast.
for what it is.
Oh,
yeah. But what kind of RPMs does a modern Hemi?
We run them about 9,500 ish. They might see a little more than that, and they will go more than that. But 9,500 is a good number, I guess.
Now, when you started working on the Hemi with Bayshore and stuff and progressing on, what was the biggest challenge to make progression on the Hemis? Was it oiling system? Was it valve train stability? Was it literally everything? But what was the biggest initial challenge?
It's funny when you go back and think about it, because like I remember Dino on that first engine of his. He had two engines. One of them made 780, and one of them made 815. All right, and this is in 2000 I think it was 2000 or 2001. And I'm thinking, how are we making 200 more horsepower than that now? I don't know. It's just like it just progresses. There's no one thing you can say. I mean, with his, the very first thing that we had to fix, that was the reason why we had to try to get some parts from Barton. We dropped a valve on the dyno because they had this stupid. Back when I did this initially, they didn't oil through the push rods. Like it was a Hemi, they had a spray bar on the rocker stand that sprayed oil up on the intake push rods. The exhaust push rods, I don't think even had anything. Well, it had these little bitty holes in that spray bar that were like 15 thou or something like that. Plug one up, burn a push rod, big lash cap falls off, break a valve, blah, blah. This is stupid. And like, we're doing away with that immediately. So then the next block that we did, I just oiled through the push rods like we always did. Like every engine in the world, pretty much, so we did that. That was the first thing we fixed. When I had to build his engine too, I went to buy an oil pump, and, Barton had a nice oil pump. I was happy with that. I went to buy one. You couldn't get any of them because of who knows why. So then I had a friend that was a modeling guy, and him and I worked together and designed the oil pump that I make now. So the oil pump was the very first thing that I made for the Hemi. And then just, on and on and on. We had blocks done by a place in Detroit that we had, I had moved the lifters around. I drew it all up how I wanted it and worked with them, and had the cams made and had the lifters put in, and used to get the cylinder heads initially from Jeff at Modern Cylinder Head, and I would buy them semi-finished and finish them myself, and made my own manifolds over time. After a while I made my own manifolds, and then I had to have pistons made because the pistons that were out there I didn't like. We had these pistons that CP made, and they literally cracked in like 8 pulls. And I'm like, this is stupid. And then so I called Bill Miller, and I said, I want you to make me some, because Bill Miller made every piston I've ever had. To this day, he's the only one I've ever bought pistons from. And I said, I want to make some pistons. He says, no, you don't. Why not? He says, well, you got to pay for the forging, and then we got to design this and do all this and that. He says, it's going to cost you $4,000, I think, is what it was going to cost me to have the die made at the time. Well, at that time in my life, $4,000 was a lot of money. But I did it. And then, I mean, my pistons, or the Bill Miller pistons that I had made, are in a very high percentage of the cars that are out there running right now. And they hold up really well, and we have good luck with them. I got some in today. I got this engine of pancakes I'm putting back together right now. The pistons showed up like right before we left to go to Belrose. So, I mean, I think I just ordered 250 more forgings. I mean, it's, 250 forgings ain't really that much when you're talking the scheme of things. But when you think about like the class and what's going on out there, that's a lot of pistons for, what is your 20 cars in the field. Mm-hmm. So anyways, the piston deal was the next thing I got made. And then I decided to get my heads done myself. And I had connections with a guy that worked at Jessel named Ron Mickelbrecht or something. It was M2 Racing Heads. And I hand ported a head and worked through it. And then he was doing my heads for me. Well, then he went out of business and I had to do it myself. So now I do the heads myself in-house, manifolds, blocks, pistons, oil pans. I make the oil pans out of billet now. So, most all the parts that go on the engine, not most, but a lot of them I do here from scratch.
Yeah, you do a lot, to say the least. Yeah. And it's interesting about the camshaft and what you explained, that it kind of happened after Dan talking to you and asking you. It's like going, hey, would you be interested in doing this? And then, well, might as well do it for myself. And it kind of blossomed for there, for sure. Now, you worked with Dan on the Spintron a lot, did you not? I don't
know about a lot. We went over there and used it. I don't remember I can't think what even year that it was. I think it was around 2010. And, we learned some stuff, basically you get some direction, you figure out what's important and then you run with it, right. Cam design, valve train design, weights of parts and all that kind of stuff. So, valve springs, obviously. So I learned some stuff over there, but I haven't been back. I went there once. And with that, I did go over there when I built the Pro Stock engine. I went over there and used the Spintron again to test some stuff for that. But the Spintron has its place, and I haven't been on one in so long. But really, the people that really have good Spintrons have got them tuned up with all the right sensors and can read a lot more stuff than you even really know about. And unless you're going to devote a ton of time to figuring all that stuff out, it's not really even worth doing. You're better off just to try to sneak up on things. And I work with enough people on the camshafts anymore that I can kind of learn what works and what doesn't work. And I try some things here and there and get some direction. But yeah, it's just like the engines, and I've got however many people I'm doing engines for now, 4 or 5, whatever it is. The more you do, the more practice you get, the more bullets you got in the chamber, so like you can try stuff on this one and then try stuff on the other one. If you've only got one engine you're ever working on, it's hard to really ever learn. But I have a good group of guys now that are racing, and I can learn something off of every one of them. And then I learn off of all them guys and take all the best stuff and build my own engine with it.
So that makes sense.
Are you planning on running any of the IHRA races?
I want to. The next one is the one in Montgomery.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's in a month or 5 or 6 weeks or whatever. I want to go to that. If I go to that, I want to take my car to it. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. If I don't take my car, my other option is Anthony Rhodes told me I'm welcome to drive his other car whenever I want to. We talked about it the other day. So I could go down there and drive his car. My car was fast when I drove it, so That's an option. The other option is to stay home and work on my car. So we'll just kind of see what's going on or what kind of mood I'm in. I hate to miss it because I really kind of want to support the deal and make sure they have enough cars that it makes it, worth them committing to it the way they have, because it's really a big commitment for them. I mean, it's a big commitment. It's really not about the amount of money they put up. It's about that they even want to do something. That's the commitment to me. And the money is great, but the fact that they even care enough to try to promote it and have a race, I think that's a big deal. I would like to be a part of that. The only IHRA races I went to was the one at Columbus, which was the first one they had. And that was really a fun race. We had a good time at that. I enjoyed that.
Good.
Yeah, and the prize money's not bad either. I think it's $10,000 to win at each of the races. So you spoke of the one in Montgomery, which is May the 7th through the 9th. National Trails is June the 18th through the 20th. Empire Dragways July the 23rd through the 25th, and Maple Grove, which is part of the Dutch Classic, will be October the 2nd through the 4th.
Right.
That's
10 grand when you think about it. I mean, I don't even know what they pay in NHRA Pro Stock anymore because they don't post it. But I mean, I did ask somebody, and he told me that it's like 20 to win now in NHRA Pro Stock. So I figured them guys are racing for 20. And if I can race for 10 with my old hunk of junk, I'm pretty thankful for that.
Well, it is you. Okay, a hunk of junk. Yeah, right. But anyway, but the points system also, it's like 70 grand for the overall points champion or something like that in that IHRA shootout. I think it's something like that.
Yeah. I
don't know about that. Is that real? I mean, they talked about doing that at one time. I don't know that that's actually happening. They talked about that. And, I'm not really in favor of that because I don't want this to turn into some kind of a pseudo professional class. I mean, if they want to give us 10 grand to win a race, that's way more than I expect, for what we're doing. These guys with these cars are not professional racers. I mean, they're just basically, they're all old and they're all just want to race their car. I mean, they don't have full-time crews. I mean, it's like, if you're going to turn it into that, it's going to end up turning into something that I don't really think that we want to do.
Yeah, I see your point, but to answer your question, I didn't see IHRA posted. Steve posted it, and I know Ben Holt's working with it to do the whole thing. But correct, I'm with you. I
agree.
have not seen that anywhere listed in IHRA pages.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I don't want them to overspend and say, well, let's not do this. I would rather them go a little cheaper on the cheap side and keep all those classes in play instead of having to put them back for the next following year.
Right.
Yeah, agreed. Now tell us something else. You've progressed on not only from camshafts to valve trains, but I think you make retainers, keepers. Like you said, you make your intake manifolds, valve covers, the spark plug tubes, oil pumps, oil pans.
Clutches.
Forgot. I knew there was something. Clutches. Okay, so basically you do everything in-house except, I guess, heat treating, correct?
Yeah, I don't do heat treating. There's a place that comes and does that for me, but yeah, I get that done. And, the thing of it is, the reason why you end up with all those other little things like clutches, for instance, I don't really like doing clutches because a clutch is almost like building an engine because there's so many little parts that go into it. You got to keep all of that stuff made and in the stock. You go to put a clutch together and you're missing one part that you don't have. You can't finish it. But all that stuff was part of my progression to get where I am now. Like you, as a businessman, you're looking for what you're going to be able to do to make money. So you start sniffing around and doing different things. I was like, well, I can make that. I think I can do that a little bit better. So you make that. So then I'm one guy, so it's hard for me to do all these things. Like today I just finished up making valve locks. I hate making valve locks, but I had a place that used to do it for me and they don't want to do them anymore apparently. So I have to do them because I have people out there that have built their engines around my parts. So I have to supply them. So some of this other stuff that I do, there's a stack of material sitting over here to make oil pans and valve covers with. And they're all sold, but I don't have time to do it right now. The camshaft is always my leader. Like that's kind of my whole gig. Someone wants a cam. I tell them you can have a cam in a week or two. I tell them 2 weeks, and usually it's 2 weeks or less, depending on as long as nothing weird's going on. So I always work on the cams, and then the engines is kind of the sideline thing. It's like today when I was finishing up the valve locks, I put Pancake's block in the mill and put a sleeve in it and get his block fixed. I'm trying to get his engine put back together. Because one thing that I had already talked to him about, which I may do, is I want to put his engine in my car and run it, just because before I give it to him. So I may do that, but I got to get it fixed first and then figure out what I'm going to do with it.
Gotcha. Yeah, you have nothing going on. And are you still, I think for the longest time, you were known to basically work by yourself. Do you have many or anybody working with you currently?
No, not like a actual employee. I mean, I just don't, because I don't have a good reason for that, I guess. I can't really, if I had another me, that would be one thing, but I don't. So it's like everything that I do is almost a onesie twosie thing. So it's not like I can get a machine set up and run it and then say, okay, here we're going to make 30 of something, or 100 of something. Everything I do is like a setup piece. So it's hard for me to think about having an actual employee because it just doesn't really work out.
Well, it makes it too hard for you to try to train someone because you've got to hurry up and you've got to spit these things out for these customers. You really don't have that time to teach someone the tricks of the trade.
Right.
And to tell you the truth, there's a lot of younger people, they don't want to learn. And that's
it's unfortunate. I mean, there's a lot of opportunity out there for people. But if you can't make somebody be interested in this. I mean, either you're passionate about it or you're not. And there's plenty of people out there that just want to have a job where they show up every day and get paid. And that's not what this is about. I mean, what this is about is you have to produce. You have to always be moving forward. And if you don't, you're done.
Right. Well, that makes sense now. And I think you've already answered it just by talking to you. It's like, what motivates you? You know what I mean? What motivates you going forward? And from what I'm thinking is, or what I'm seeing is, one, you want to be the best, and two, you want to produce the best quality product you possibly can for your customers.
Right. Obviously, and the thing of it is like I would do what I do for free. I mean, like, I really enjoy making cams and making parts and talk to my customers. And, it's always a good day. I don't really have any bad days, hardly. And then I always kind of notice it, or I feel bad about it when I talk to somebody and they're like complaining about their job and everything sucks and I don't like being here. And I don't like that, because I'm like, if you don't like what you're doing, you should figure out something else. And then they'll say, well, it's easy for you to say. Well, I mean, I could do anything. I did drywall with my dad. That's what I did. My dad's deal was doing drywall. And we did that every day until I was probably 40 years old. And then he got older and things slowed down. And that gave me more time to transition into what I was doing. But up until then, I was working 2 jobs. I worked all day long with my dad doing drywall till whatever, 5, 6 o'clock. And then I'd work till 10 or 11 o'clock every night doing this stuff, because that's what I want to do. It's fun. It's challenging, and there's always something new to do. But I enjoy what I do, and I'm very thankful for the opportunities that I've been given to do what I do.
Have you been approached by any factory stock showdown guys work on these new Hemis?
Kinda. I have zero interest in them things. I think they're queer. Like LS motors are lame. They're so lame. Everything about them is lame and gay. I did this work on a new Gen 3 Hemi for Mike Wagner. That was the first one of those I've ever touched. Actually kind of enjoyed working on that. Except we got it all done. I put it on the dyno, and the thing, typical Mopar junk, the block was spraying water right out the side of it, right through the porosity in the casting. If you looked at it, it looked perfect. And I don't remember why. I think he wasn't here. I put it on the dyno and started it up and made one pull. And then for whatever reason, I took the valve covers off and it was full of water. And then he came over here and was helping take it off the dyno because we were going to pressure check it or whatever. And we turned the water pump on and it was spraying water right on the floor in the dyno room because the block has just got porosity in it. Well, it's just Mopar junk parts that they sell, and the block was junk. But that engine was kind of cool. I kind of enjoyed working on that. But I had zero interest in working on those new cars. Nothing about them interests me at all.
I must have got a good block.
Yeah, he's got a Gen 3, but it's got over 200,000 miles on it and stuff like that. So he's got a seasoned one. But I tell you, okay, well, if there is anything out there that you could ever drive or ever want to drive, okay, is there anything you would ever want to drive if the opportunity ever arose? And it doesn't have to be a drag car. It could be a street car. It could be anything.
Well, as far as racing goes, that was the reason why I bought the Pro Stock car, because I really liked Pro Stock ever since I was a little kid. I mean, I remember going to Gators and there'd be 40-some Pro Stock cars there going, trying to qualify for 16. That was always my favorite class. And I'm not going to go pay someone to let me drive their car. No one's ever going to ask me to drive their car because all those people that drive those cars, as far as I know, they're all paying for their seat, and I'm not doing that. So the only way I was going to do it is if I bought my own, which I did. I built my own engine and all that stuff. And, my best runs were basically 0.2 slower than number one was. That's obviously not competitive, but I built that engine from scratch with nothing to start from. I had no diving board to jump off of. In hindsight, what I should have done was bought one of the engines that they had when they had the car that I bought for sale. Then I would have had something to start with. But I just wanted to do my own thing. And I enjoyed that. I learned a lot from that whole project. Learned about paying attention to details about things I never really knew. I did meet some people throughout that project that one of my closest friends now is Jason Line, and I met him through that whole thing. So it wasn't a loss, but I always wanted to drive a Pro Stock car, so that's what I did. As far as anything other than that and racing, no. I mean, I have some interest in having some kind of a cool street car to drive around, but other than that, I don't really. By cool street car, I mean something like old 69 Camaro, 70 Chevelle, just the things I really like, something like that. Something with a carburetor on it and about 3 wires and a stick shift. I mean, that's what I want.
I like your talk, and I agree with that. Simplicity is where it's at on many.
And that's really 100% the reason why I don't like the new stuff. All that fuel injection, and it's junk. It sucks. Nothing about it's cool. You open the hood, it's just a bunch of wires and gayness. It sucks. You take the hood off of a CUDA Hemi car, you got 2 carburetors. There's this easy to work on. You don't have to have somebody walking around with a laptop pretending like they know everything and they're holding your racing career hostage with their laptop. You can just change jets or change nothing and go to the racetrack and the car will run. So it's very, very much what I'm all about is just simplicity.
I do agree. It is kind of disappointing when you do pop the hood on these late model cars and everything's plastic.
Right.
I mean,
it's just boring. It's just absolutely boring. compared to like what you drive and other people have, other of that generation of cars and things like. Now, last year at the Dutch, okay, we know Bucky went red, okay, and at the time ran the quickest, still to this time, 820 with a 0. Okay, I was in Adel when you went at 822. Okay, I was standing on the starting line when you ran that. Now, from that time to this, had anything changed in the rules? Meaning, have they added weight to the cars? Was the cylinder heads, the rules same back then as they are now? Was there anything? Because why did it take so long for the ETs to catch up?
Nothing's changed. It's all the same. I mean, when to the best of my knowledge, when we were in Georgia that time, the air was 600 feet on my tag weather station, which I still have. We had weather that good at Belrose this week, and the best I could get out of that car, like I said, was a 29 on a halfway decent run. It's just, in reality, the engines ain't making hardly any more power than I was making back then, because I was looking at my dyno sheets from my car, because I had on my dyno here at my new place, I was just trying to compare it to some stuff. And I had on there some pulls from my engine back then. And I feel like, I feel like I could be pretty competitive with the same engine that I had in the car back then today. So anyways, I don't know why it took everybody so long. It's all this talk until I get my car back out again and see if I can still run fast with it. Because right now I feel like I forgot how to race, because I can't get out of it what I feel like I need to get out of it. Right, so until I do it, it's just all talk.
Or what it's capable of.
Right.
So I take it that, obviously everybody keeps working, progressing to go quicker and faster. That's the name of the game, and to beat you competitor. But do you think if the weather's right that a teen is capable this year?
Well, of course. Down there, my weather station said I should have been able to go with 15 on Saturday morning. I went 29. It wasn't going to go with 15, even if it would have worked right. But I should have been able to go at least as fast as Anthony went, which was 23. But it gets to the point where once you start having enough power to go that fast, getting it down the track is really the hard part. That's why there was all the controversy back when I started, if you remember, because Holton held the record at 861 or something, and it was a factory track. They went to some place and really went this, but it factored to this. And that was kind of the whole bogusness about that, was they didn't actually do it. The calculator did it. And you take one of these cars and start having to go in, low 20s or teens or whatever. They ain't meant to do that. So it's hard to do.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we have some great weather at Indy like we did last year, because Indy, what I hear, is usually pretty daggum warm around that time of year. And it was nice and cool, and it was great.
It was good.
Yeah, that was not something that normally happens there, but not to make it about me or anything, but if you look back on the Drag Race Central archives, I think in 2010, maybe, I don't know, I went 38 there, my dad went 42, in the final, I think. So it goes back to saying, I went that fast a long time ago. I did. But like I said, until I do it again, it's all this bullshit. I just got to get the car out and make it happen. And I'm looking forward to that.
You will. I got to ask you, where did the name on Henry's car come from? I know it came from you, but how did that come about? Because first of all, why is the door doesn't have the Barnett colors on it?
Ask Henry. I don't know. So he took when he had the car down there at his place still, he says, I'm going to get the doors painted. I said, why? He said, well, I'm going to take Barnett's name off. Okay. So he took the doors and had them painted, and I think the paint guy wrecked one of the doors or something. I don't remember the story, but then he had to find another door, and he painted the doors white. So when he brought it up to me, that was when I was still over at my dad's place, and Henry was staying in town at some place, and he showed up one morning before he got there, and I don't know, I was sitting there in my office looking at that car, and I don't know, it just hit me ugly fish. And then I had a piece of paper and I printed it off on my printer, which is the same font that we're using for the real label. And I stuck it on there when he got there, and he looked at it and he didn't say much one way or another, but he has accepted it. After it was all over with, I thought the name I should have called it was a white elephant, because the white elephant is a gift you get at Christmas that sucks. And that's a great name for that car, So, and, it's a good one too, because the Hemi elephant, I don't got to explain it to you, but that hit me afterwards. If that would have hit me first, I probably would have went with that, because it's kind of funny. But
at the time you started with it wasn't a white elephant, though.
Well, I know. I could kind of tell. That thing, when we started working on it, there was, I hadn't worked on my own car in so long. We're working on that. And, the whole thing with that car was I wanted to work on a car myself at my place and do everything that way I wanted to. And Henry was game for all that. And that was kind of like my pet project, is to try to take this car that has never been fast before, never been really run, and make something out of it. And, it's no stone by any means. It's just hard to win anything with it, because you can't really depend on it. I did learn something interesting at Belrose. Little Joe come and talked to me, and he's like, hey, he says, you've obviously done some work to that car. And I said, yeah, why do you say that? And he said, when Barnett's got that car running, they had a stick shift in it when Barnett's had that car. And I guess little Joe put his drivetrain in that car and ran it. And I don't know what he went with it. And he says, I took all that stuff out of that car and put it in my car. And it was 1100s faster doing nothing. And he said, obviously, you've got it better than it was now. And I said, well, guess. So,
okay.
Yeah, okay. Right.
You're like, it's just not quite where I want, but thank you, I guess,
Yeah.
Yeah. But I tell you, no, I like what you did, because the first time I saw it, you just had a small piece of paper on it, just taped to the door, and that was it, and just kind of stuck. And the next thing I see, you got the sticker on the side. So that's something I've always liked about your stuff, is you work on them, and you work on performance. Okay, and if they, you don't necessarily worry about all the glitter and chrome and all that. You worry about performance and function.
Right. Well, that's all that's important. I mean, I want them to be clean. Like, I don't.
Of course.
I washed it before we took it to Belrose. That's the first time that car's been washed in 2 years. For real. So I washed it, and I'm like, well, Henry, you don't look too bad after you wash it. And because that was just always kind of a ritual I used to have. Like, when I'd get my car ready to go to race, I'd wash the car. That was just my thing. So I washed it, and we loaded it, and then we washed everything, motor home and trailer and all that stuff. But like, I am the opposite of into these fancy paint jobs. I think that's so lame to have all this fancy paint and then have a car that's slow. And then most of the fast cars these days have nice paint jobs on them. And really, my Warfish car, in my opinion, is cool looking. And most people liked it. And I did get kind of a sideways negative comment about it that kind of bugged me a little bit from Doug, the guy that takes the pictures for Hemi Shootout down there, because we were talking about my old automatic car that Eric Brand owns now. And he cleaned it up. Like, I sold that car to John Raines, and then he bought all of Raines' stuff. So they took my old automatic car, and I think they re-cleared it and, cleaned it up. And Doug's like, why would you take that car and repaint it and leave that paint job on it unless you just wanted it to be ugly? And he said that to me, and I'm looking at it, and I felt like saying, what are you talking about? The car is cool. Like, you're dumb. Like, that car is cool. That was the most original paint job that was ever done on one of these cars ever. And it was just something that all came about too because, everybody had a fish something. Bayshore had Mean Fish. It's the car that I was with, and Psycho Fish and blah blah fish, whatever. Well, I said I'm going to war with these guys. This is the Warfish. So that's how that came about. And it's everybody knows that car, and it's cool. It's different.
It is. Now if I remember the story right, I read it somewhere that you had a short turnaround to paint that car. The car was ready, but you needed it painted. You took it somewhere and said, just paint it, something to that effect. I need it back real soon. And you came back, and did you know that it was going to be camouflage? Or was it the colors
of course.
You didn't know?
None of that happened. I mean, what the real story with that is when this car here that I have now, I think from the day I picked it up from Gary's, when you get a car from Gary, it's rough looking, I mean, it needs a lot of TLC. And I think from the time I picked that car up to we had it running in like 5 or 6 weeks, painted everything, because I had a local guy named Larry Jordan that painted all of our cars. He's an older guy. He's like older than my dad, but he works like an animal. And I went out there and helped him some, and I did what I could at my place. I painted the bottom and the roll cage and the firewall and all that stuff. I did all the black, and then I took it out there and did all the body work on it, and then I taped it all off. The pattern on it is I taped off myself. If you look over my shoulder here, you can see I did the same thing in my office. So
yeah, I noticed
I taped it all off, and he painted it and worked really hard, and then we had that thing running in 5 or 6 weeks. But no, that was always the original intent, was to have the camouflage paint job on it.
Gotcha. Well, you see, with that clarified, that makes more sense. That clarified that story for sure. Now, tell me, how can everybody get a hold of you, or how can everybody get a hold of Militia Racing Products?
Well, I have a website. This is militiaproducts.com. That has my phone number and email on there. People on Facebook send me messages and stuff or whatever. I'd say send me an email. I'm not doing business on Facebook. I have one phone number. It's the phone number I've always had, my cell phone. It's on my website, so I'm pretty easy to get a hold of if you need anything, or email me or whatever. But I call you back. Emails work the best for me because I can answer those anytime. If somebody's got a question or needs something, that's the best way to get a hold of me.
That's true.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're looking forward. Probably not going to make it up to Montgomery, but we are definitely looking forward to going up to the U.S. Nationals and running into you there, and hoping to talk to you a little bit, maybe do a little pit interview with you.
Sure, no problem.
All right, that sounds good. Now, before we go, Charlie, if there is anything that you could change with the class, okay, what would you change, if anything?
Well, I guess there's a couple things that they're not going to change it back. I don't like the rack and pinion steering. I think that's dumb. I don't know who pushed that so much. That's dumb. They make out, they try to sell it as a safety thing and all this. I mean, the problem, and Gary told me this way back when, he's like, if you don't do it right, it ain't going to work. And that's the reason why we had to have the nose redone on Henry's car, because the guy that built the car put a rack on it. And we had that car up in the air working on it. And we had it all done. Like, we were going to go test it in 2 days. All right. We set it down on the scales. And when I set it down on the scales in the front, I watched the front tires move. That son of a bitch had like 3 inches of bump steer. And I'm like, everything's a mess. And like, I said, I can't fix this. I don't know what's the matter with it. So then we had to cut the whole front, right? We didn't. Holt fixed it all, put the new nose on it. Right. But that whole rack thing, that was not necessary. Now, the new thing is you don't gotta, but now they made titanium valves legal in super stock for everything. Yeah. That was dumb. Yeah. Because, like, the thing of it is, if you want to put titanium valves in one of these engines, the CCs on the heads are already on the max on every side of the valve. So the chamber's done, ports are done. You can't just take one of these steel valves out that I have and put a titanium valve in that's the same shape. As far as I know, you can't. I think you'd have to make it a little bit different, thicker. Something's different. So if you change the valve shape, now the combustion chamber's wrong. Now the port's wrong. Now the piston's wrong. So really, if you want to put tie valves in these, you need a new engine, and that's stupid. You don't, because it's just stupid, and it's not necessary. And most of the cars that are in super stock, like take for instance the average super stock engine of old, like a 283 Chevy or a 327 Chevy or whatever, the cylinder heads are only good for about 7,000 RPM. I mean, how light of a valve do you need? I mean, you run them to 9, but the point is, they don't want to go there anyways. And then the other thing is too, if you put a tie valve in, so you take one of these valves that weighs whatever and put a valve in that weighs 40 or 50 grams lighter, everything's going to be different. The cam's not going to work the same. The spring's going to be different. So you're going to have to be pretty smart to work all that stuff out, and nobody's going to do all that. It sounds good when they did it to some people, but really it was a horrible move. And then the billet crankshaft used to be the rule said crankshaft could be a forging factory configuration or something like that. Now all it says is billet crankshafts approved, which means no rules on the crankshaft anymore. Well, the more rules they do away with, the more things get out of control. And the only thing that I can say is I feel like, the pool of tech inspectors they have is so small anymore. I feel like they don't want any rules. If they don't have any rules, they don't have to have any tech inspectors inspect anything, and then, wide open, which is lame.
Right.
You need to have some rules.
Agreed. But I mean, you explained a lot there with the rack and everything. And I remember years ago there was a discussion about frame rails being moved, front frame rails being moved, relocated. Mm-hmm. That was a rumor, of course. Mm-hmm. That, and of course the bumps in the front fenders. To lower the ride height, and I've hear all these different things. Wrong hoods, that was always a good one. Wrong hoods, and I'm like, I don't know what happened last year with the wheelbase. Something about it was too short, and everybody had to lengthen their wheelbase, or was it the other way around?
No, so this is what happened there, and this happened a long time ago too, and I don't remember what year it was, but Bucky got his wheelbase measured at Indy one time, and he was short. And then Phil threw a fit and said that Mandela said that the factory wheelbase number was actually XYZ, whatever. It's like whatever a normal CUDA is, the super stock cars, it was moved ahead a little bit. So really the super stock cars are, to back up a second, the wheelbase in stock and super stock is stock wheelbase plus minus 3/4 of an inch.
Yes. So
whatever the number is, 108 or whatever it is, you're allowed to be 3/4 of an inch less than that. Well, what Phil said was the factory Hemi cars, it actually was 107 maybe. So you're allowed to be 3/4 of an inch plus minus of 107 and not 108. Well, that happened many years ago. I'm talking maybe 20 years ago. It was a long time ago. And then 2 years ago at Indy, the same thing happened. They measured Bucky's wheelbase. It was short. They had this big thing going, and they found all this old paperwork. Barton had this. They're calling David Hakeem and asking him things. So then they changed it, and they said, well, yeah, the factory Hemi cars had a 107 wheelbase, and now you're allowed to be 3/4 of an inch plus or minus the 107. So basically, everybody had to move their rear ends forward. Barnett was down there. They never even heard about it before, and they were looking around. They came over to my place looking for a left-handed tap 3/4 inch fine. I was like, yeah, right. Barely got a screwdriver. And they wanted to, shorten their four-link bars up and stuff. It's stupid. The whole point is these cars have had in the book that NHRA gave us, they've had the wheelbase of 108, whatever it is, since 1968. Now all of a sudden, because Bucky's wheelbase is short, everybody's got to buy new drive shafts. It's stupid. That was a horrible Why didn't they just tell Bucky to move his wheelbase back a quarter inch and it probably would have been fine? But now everybody in the whole class has to change because of that, because they found this magical paperwork that never had been submitted before. We all build our cars based around the book, which said 108. Now we all had to change it. I honestly don't really know why you even got to change it, because I haven't measured mine. But if the rules are 108 minus 3/4, I'll bet you mine is pretty close to the minimum, because that's how Gary does things. So if you're 108 minus 3/4, you're theoretically 107 1/4, which is within the tolerance. I don't really know how. I don't think I even got to do anything to my car. And I don't really know why anybody did. But everybody felt like we needed to, get that little bit and move the rear ends forward enough to get to the minimum. But that was just more screwing around.
I got you. And so, and it's a shame the way, the tech went down after the final. I mean, it is what it is, as far as both competitors, and
Right.
what happened. Do you feel that what they said happened with both competitors, do you think it was any effect on performance? I don't believe that. I don't believe it.
I don't
that
think
it
so
would.
either. There was no effect on performance on either one of those infractions. The Jason thing with the carbs being big, I say they were big. There was a little big, couple thou, 3 thou, 15, whatever it was on one hole. That's doing nothing. The thing that I had the biggest problem with, just being objectively or thinking objectively about this, was Barton's or Daniel's car. There's no way they should have thrown them out for what they did. They had used on their dyno cylinder pressure measuring things, which I've put those in some heads for some guys. I did some of the shootout heads for Moran, some Dodge heads, and I had to drill the holes for them sensors. It's like I forget how big it is. It's like 180 thousandths hole or something like that going into the chamber for the probe. When you're done with the probe, you take the probe out and you screw a plug in it, and now the hole's plugged up and there's just a hole there with a plug in it. Right. So that's, as far as I know, that's what they had. The verbiage that they used to pitch them, saying that was an external modification, that's wrong. That was not an external modification. If that's an external modification, every super stock engine out there that's got shaft rocker arms on it's illegal, because they take and mill the bosses off the heads. Some of them, they put extra holes in the heads. All this stuff, that is not an external modification. I don't know why they pitched them out for that. It shouldn't have happened. And Jason said the same thing. Jason says, my carbs were illegal. I should have been out. They should have won. I mean, anybody with a brain knows that. But, that's the ruling they came up with. And what's funny is they still haven't really ever said anything about it. I did hear from Tech that, you can do that, but you got to plug the hole and, say it was a crack and all this stuff. I mean, it's just stupidness. It's just, they wanted to put the effort forth to invest in that package to measure cylinder pressure. Good for them. I wish I had the money to do that. But you're telling me that if I do that now, I just took and scrapped a set of heads because I can't put plugs in them and just run them as they were. That doesn't make any sense. The things that are irritating in racing and in life are things that are just not logical, that don't make any sense. And they don't make any sense. It's just stupidness. Somebody wants to throw somebody out for a reason, and they figure out a reason to do it, and that's what they did.
Yeah. Just watch the news. You'll be saying that
Right.
all the time, right? Just watch the news.
Mm-hmm.
But I tell you, Charlie, I want to tell you, Mitchell and I, we appreciate you taking the time out of your crazy busy schedule to come on here and talk to us and tell us a little bit about your history and what you're currently doing in your future and stuff like that. And we encourage everybody to follow Charlie, to follow all the Hemi cars, to go to the races, and to follow him, to buy their merchandise, and if you do race a Hemi or any of the products, to call Charlie. Okay, call Militia Products, and he can help take care of you of any of your stuff that you might need for a Hemi.
other thing you want to tell everybody to do is take a good look at the tongue on their trailers and make sure they ain't got any cracks they didn't know about. So,
Yes. Yeah, that's something else we'll do real quick is you had an exciting adventure coming home from Belarus.
Right. Well, we're coming back, and the roads have seemed to do nothing but get worse since the last time I went to a race. And I can remember, way back when I was driving that motorhome in the trailer, you'd hit some bumps on the road every once in a while, and I would always look in the mirror and make sure the trailer didn't fall off after I hit some bumps. So this time around, there's some bumps going down there. Coming back, there was some really bad ones in Jackson, Mississippi, on 55 north. Anyways, so we got up there to getting close to Memphis, and we decided to go to Graceland. I'd never been there before. Susan had been there before, but we went to Graceland, and then we left. And then I got back on the highway. We're heading north, and we had made pretty good time that day. And I hadn't been back on the highway very long, and all of a sudden I heard this horrible grinding noise, and I hopped out after I luckily I was in the right lane already, because I think from the time I heard the noise to when I pulled off, I'm trying to remember, I probably traveled quarter mile maybe. Pull over right on the side of the road on a 3-lane per side highway with all these trucks going by. And then I pull off and I get out of the motorhome and I start walking back there, and the trailer's nose down. I thought it fell off the ball. I didn't really know what to think. By the time I got back there, I looked down and the damn tongue's busted in half. And right then I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, this is horrible. Like, I had no idea. I'm sitting here, me and her on the side of the highway, broke down in the middle of Memphis on a Sunday afternoon at 5 o'clock. So I called 911, and she told me, you got to call your own wrecker. Unless there's an accident, we don't get involved. So I Googled on my phone, wrecker service, called this wrecker service, and they said, yeah, we'll be out. It's going to be an hour and a half. Well, it took them 2 hours. They finally did show up. But in the meantime, I put a picture on Facebook of my problem and was just asking for help. And I had a lot of calls from people that wanted to help me. And that was it really was nice, to have everybody that's, jumping through hoops and calling people. And this guy that I never met before called me or texted me. His name was Lynn Neal. And he was an interesting cat, and we got to hang out with him the next day. But he's like, you need to call this guy, and it was Andy Kogler, and they have a business, and that's what they do, is they fix trucks and trailers and everything. So I called, the wrecker finally showed up, and we hauled over to this Kogler's place that was in Olive Branch. And what was funny was when I called Andy Kogler, he didn't answer the phone. And then I called him back that night. It was dark. It was like 9 o'clock. And I says, hey, trailer's broke, blah, blah. I'm sitting in front of your place. What do you want me to do? And he says, well, let's, find a spot there, park out front, and I'll be there. And he says, now this part here I thought was kind of funny. Maybe you will too. He says, what did you say your name was? I said, Charlie Westcott. He says, the races the Hemi cars? And I said, yeah. He says, wow. He says, I've been watching you race for a long time. I says, well, if you're impressed, I am too. I just need you to fix my trailer. And the guy was so good and worked so hard to fix my trailer and to suit my needs. It was really nice. And it really, at that point, I didn't really need somebody to fluff my ego. What it was for me was it was proof that this class has a lot of interest from everybody, and it was kind of a wake up call in a way for me that there's a lot of people out there that really care about the Hemi racing and the Hemi challenge and these cars. This guy was a bracket racer. This races locally. His dad was a Mopar guy, but he didn't know a lot about the cars and stuff, but he knew enough. He knew about Indy and all that stuff. But it was just really nice to have him help me out and take care of it. But it was an experience, and we got it all fixed, and here we are. We made it home and ready for the next one.
Well, that's good. I'm glad that one, you're over safe, that it didn't happen in a different results. But I'm glad that y'all are safe and you're able to meet some good people and people took care of you and got you fixed, and so you're able to get that back home. So that's good. It's like you said. I mean, as big as this country is, racing is kind of a tight knit family.
It is
for sure.
And so that's a good
thing.
You
had a lot of people sharing that post.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. So that's good. That's the most important thing is everybody wanted you safe, you and your family safe, and then go on from there. So that's a good deal. And you're right. When you post the pictures, I went right out and checked my trailer too, and it's like just mine's smaller than yours, but still is the point to check on certain stuff. So we definitely will. But
I had called Gary. Well, the first call I made when I was down there was Red LeBlanc because I knew he was from Memphis. Well, he's not anymore. And then I called Gary Jennings and I'm like, hey, this is what's going on. Who over here do we know anymore that races? And he says, well, Red's in Florida now, and you could try to get a hold of Militia, and I tried him, and he didn't work. And then Gary just starts talking. He's like, what are you doing? And I said, I was racing. He says, where'd you go? And I said, Belrose. No. Yeah, I had heard somebody said something about you were going to Belrose, and I thought, well, surely you didn't take that turd car down there with you. I said, well, surely I did. And then
stop calling
it didn't work out. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
You said it's not a bird, it's a fish.
Yeah.
I told Henry that I took that car to Graceland and tried to donate it to the museum, and they didn't want it. But
they didn't know what they were looking at. It's what it was.
Mm-hmm.
They just didn't know. It's all right. You'll get it straight for sure. And that.
Well, I had Gary Hansen called me the other day, I think yesterday it was, and he says he wanted to know what was going on, and he says I seen you had some problems down there, and I said yeah, and he says, well, I got just what you need. I wanted to send you something to help you fix that car. And I says, what's that, a for sale sign? And he said, no, he has something else in mind. But anyways, it's kind of a joke. I mean, the thing, I get frustrated with it. I have to kind of laugh about it because I can't do anything else, but we'll figure it out. I'm just not really sure exactly when and how much time I can devote to it right this minute because I got so many other things I need to be doing. So.
Right, but you like the challenge, and you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be happy with that car until it's doing what you want it to do repetitively. So that's a sign of your hard work and determination, and it shows. It shows in your product. It shows in your car. It shows in everything that you've done or been associated with. Because I used to watch you when you come down to Orlando. You and your father set records, and I used to work for D2 Tech, and we used to CC your heads and do stuff like that. And back when you had the Pontiac, the blue one. Okay,
yeah, my dad had Bobby Cunningham's old car with a blue Grand Am. Mm-hmm.
That's it. And I remember the rig that y'all had, and I liked it. That flat nose, was it a flat nose Kenworth? What it was with like an old body?
No, that was we had a red one. We had a red Kodiak with a red box on the back. And then we had a red trailer we pulled in back of it. That's what we had. But the one you're thinking about, there was I think Arnold Green or Hemmingson had something. They had a semi-cab box with a box on the back of it. Yeah.
Maybe.
I remember those times. That was fun back then. That was really fun. And really the heyday of this Hemi class in my mind will always be back in the early 2000s. When I first started doing like 2003 to 5. When the Holtons were doing it, and DeFrank and Barton had a handful of cars. It was kind of more diverse, I'll say. Now it's kind of more finesse and more can't think of the word, but it's just more, it's very competitive. It's a lot harder to win now than it was when I was doing it before.
Do you think an automatic car can be it? Now I know Bucky's proved to be competitive with his car, with an automatic, and he's the only one. Everything else I see is sticks. as far as being competitive. Do you think an automatic car can be competitive consistently?
Well, obviously it can because he's done it. What's funny is before he was racing that stick car, they were on Facebook lobbying for a 250-pound weight penalty on the stick shift cars. And then, then now he's got one, and actually Bucky's usually faster than that stick shift car is. So I wondered if they were carrying that extra 250 pounds in Jason's car, but I don't think they are.
No.
But it's easy to say all this stuff when you're not doing it. I hate automatics. I think they're pretty much as gay as an LS Chevy engine is. But I want nothing to do with them. I don't know how they work, the converters. I don't know nothing about them. My automatics were always done by Joel. If it wasn't for him, I would have never been able to do any of the automatic stuff. I'm good at stick shifts. I understand them. It's just two gears rubbing against each other. The automatics I don't get. So obviously it can be done, but I don't want to learn it. I'll stick with what I'm doing.
Because you were quick and fast when you had the automatic in your car.
That's what I had to have at that time, and we had to have an automatic to run that class, so that's what we had. And I think the best I ever went with the automatic was a 38. I set the record at Maple Grove one year at 38. And then they changed the rules soon after that and went to the stick shift thing. But I don't like automatics.
Well, hey, go with what you like, right?
Right.
You like carburetors, you like Hemis, you like sticks, and you like heads up.
Right. Yeah,
there you
for
go.
sure.
And a set.
Who don't like that?
And no plastic on the motor.
Yeah, no plastic on the motor. Yeah, there you go. But I tell you, Charlie, we appreciate it, buddy. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Had a good time, but thank you for sharing some of your insight about the racing in the Hemi cars, and also this upcoming year. And we wish you and your family nothing but the best. And glad you had safe travels, and we will definitely follow up with you at Indy.
All right, look forward to that.
All right, Charlie. Well, thank you very much, sir. We hope you have a wonderful night.
Thank you.
All right.
Take care.
Take care, Charlie.
I'll tell you what, man, what a great podcast. What a great crowd that we had on tonight. Listen to Charlie. Just to talk about the Hemi Shootout Challenge. And I tell you what, I love it. And I tell you, being on the wall, taking photos down there, I had just as much fun taking pictures of the Hemi Shootout cars than I did anything else that weekend up there in Indy. It's just some really great photos that I've got. I got to get you a couple of them, Robert.
Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because, I caught some of it, and you caught a different round than the round I did. And, I really, really enjoyed it. And I tell you, it was great talking to Charlie. Very sharp, very, very intelligent. We were talking to him before coming on, and we always knew that he was sharp and intelligent, but just how he approaches things, very basic, very down to earth, and very, very hard working. And it shows. I hope he does have an opportunity to bring his car out this year or soon. He
does. He tells it like it is.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to say. And that's the thing, Charlie, I don't know if you're hearing this or not, but something I do like about listening to you and talking to you is you're absolutely right. Mitchell and I agree. Say it like it is, okay? You don't like something, say you don't like something. Yeah. You do, don't, you don't. Okay, you got a rival with somebody, call it out.
One thing that he talked about earlier, Robert, is, the passion at the end down there when they do interviews. And I love to see someone wear their emotion on their sleeve and just get into the nitty-gritty while they're on the mic and be real and not be like a robot down there. Show that passion. I think it's very, very important that we get back to that in drag racing.
Agreed.
Agreed. You don't have to be colorful, as far as language, but show some passion.
Absolutely. And like I said, you don't like something, say you don't like it. Okay, you do like something, say you like it. But I agree with what Charlie said, and I think that's something that is hindering all motorsports. Okay, but that's something I think drag racing should really stand apart. And I agree, don't start just going off and railing, you know what I mean,
Right.
on camera and stuff where people got to turn it off and all that. I mean, we all get it. We all get it. But I mean, when people go overboard, you know, and don't start flying over hoods and all that stuff like that. Well, maybe do that. You know, that's your
Yeah, you
call.
can fly over a hood.
That's
Throw
your
a
call.
helmet. Just don't hit the other competitor with it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean that's your car. That's assault. That's a different story altogether. But you know, but that kind of thing. So that's something I like, and that's something I think that the Hemi cars. I've seen everybody be respectful of everybody. Okay, so I think that's really good. But it's an understood, and there's a friendly rival. Everybody has a friendly rival, because if you look at over the past handful of years, okay, it's really come down right now. Steve and Chuck Camella have worked hard, and it showed, and they have won a lot. Pretty much everything that's not bolted down, and they brought tools for the rest. Okay, I mean they really have. Okay, but Anthony Rhodes, right there on the doorstep, he won a shootout at Bella Rose last year. Okay, but consistently in the top 5. Junior Baum, consistently in the top 5, and he's gone many rounds and won class last year. So he's right there. Then you cannot go on without saying about Jimmy Daniels in the Ray Barton house car, 4-time consecutive winner before, runner-up last year, always in it. Then you cannot go without saying Bucky Hess and Jason Line. Bucky Hess, the grandfather, no disrespect intended, okay, the father, shall we say, of the Hemi Shootout stuff there from the opening one, okay, and winner of the first one, matter of fact, okay, and has been there and consistently being there in the thick of it, quicker and faster, and now with Jason Line as his engine builder and driving the other car, and with Jason winning last year, okay, and Bucky now having the quickest Hemi car on a ticket, 820 with a 0. Nobody's gone quicker on a ticket, okay, during legal racing. So I mean the competition is there, and that's what. And I'm hoping that the West Coast people like Eric Bell with his Jones Development engine car, and the Honkin' Hemi, and Tony DePelletino, I hope I'm saying it, plus the Southland Dodge group out of Louisiana. I'm hoping that they're able, that everybody can continue to come together and actually get the groups bigger and bigger and bigger, get
Right.
more and more and more.
I tell you what, Robert, we're going to take a little commercial break, and we'll be right back, folks, to shut down the show.
Sounds good.
Reliability to drive thousands of miles. Confidence for those who fly high. Redline oil products give you the power to crush the competition. And a track record of being the best. Redline oil products. You push it to the limit, we'll protect it.
Ready to take your engine to the next level? Scorpion Racing Products delivers precision-engineered, high-performance rocker arms that dominate the track. 100% CNC machined in the USA with aerospace-grade aluminum for unmatched strength and durability. Our rocker arms handle extreme conditions with multiple ratios available to fit your needs. Backed by our exclusive lifetime warranty. When performance matters, choose Scorpion Racing Products. Proven, reliable, unstoppable.
With more than 30 years of engine and drivetrain experience, Big Stuff is your one-stop total power management solution. Whether you're controlling a 600 horsepower street car and want the best drivability, or have a 6,000 horsepower race car, need the most bulletproof, reliable control hardware, Big Stuff can do it all. All of our components are designed and manufactured right here in the USA, including our computers, wiring harnesses, touchscreen displays, and more. Nothing is built offshore, and we take pride in being one of the only automotive aftermarket manufacturers that can say this. Learn more at bigstuff3efi.com or connect with us on Facebook and Instagram for more information.
Again, I want to thank everyone who came on tonight and joined us. Please don't forget to follow us on Facebook. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can follow us on Kick and Instagram. But we are very grateful. Yes, Spotify. We're very grateful to have y'all supporting us because without you, there wouldn't be no podcast, wouldn't be no live streams from us. But I tell you what, had a great interview tonight with Charlie Westcott. We're going to have another one coming up on Tuesday, and isn't it Tuesday?
Is it? Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, Gary. Yeah, it is Tuesday.
Yeah, it is Tuesday.
Yeah, we're going to have Gary Pritchett coming on, and of course, he just won an Ironman last weekend, and we're going to talk about his career. And his career is pretty broad spectrum of the sport. He's raced alcohol. He's worked on teams. And he's raced, part-time in nitro categories. And this year he's running a full season. And I tell you what, he went up there and won his first national event in IHRA. And so I know he's hoping probably around ZMAX in later April. He's probably hoping that he can pull off a Wally as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, he's done great, and we're looking forward to talking to him to learn more about him. I find it really, really interesting that we have a broad array of people that we're speaking to: sportsman racers, professional sportsman racers, professional racers, ARCA, drift. I mean, you think about it, Mitchell. We've talked to a lot of interesting people so far this year. And like Mitchell said, thank y'all very much for y'all's support, and we encourage you to support the people that are working with On the Spot Motorsports Media. Redline Synthetic Oil, Scorpion Racing Products, Big Stuff Fuel Injection, GRE Graphics, and we have another marketing partner which we'll announce next week.
Yep, okay. Next Tuesday. That's coming on with On the Spot Motorsports Media. Y'all will be familiar with them. But we'll be able to share it with you next week. But we want to thank everybody that's reached out to us, talked to us. Last week we were at Gainesville, and come up and talking to us about the podcast and giving us suggestions of who to speak to and ask and all this stuff. So we really, really appreciate it. We're quite humbled, and we greatly appreciate everybody's support. Sure do. So don't forget not to tune in Tuesday night, April the 7th. Gary Pritchett will be joining us. I'll put out a little reminder out on our page. And again, like I said, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Spotify. So until Tuesday afternoon, everyone take care, be safe, and happy Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter, everybody. Have a good night.